ABD, always be disarming. So I want to break down this concept a little bit more for you in today's modern age of real estate and sales and all that stuff. Before we get into all that stuff, please like, comment, subscribe, share. If you are an agent that is looking to train and get better at this, I'm an active agent coach that I still actively sell 50 to 60 houses a year on about a 20 to 30 hour week schedule is how much I consistently work in my business. I have a lot of training, things like that, but hopefully this free content helps you get you going where it's at and kind of shows you, we know what we're talking about, what we're dealing with. But check out the links below to either get on our product launches or like, comment, subscribe, share, help grow the channel for what we're trying to do here to elevate the industry and just promote better agents, better realtors. But the concept I'm going through here is ABD, and it's around a similar situation of what we've probably heard before in sales called always be closing, ABC. And this is kind of the idea that a lot of previous sales trainers have, really encourage you to always be closing and always be moving things toward a conclusion, which is partially true. Like, I'm not saying that is a bad strategy or an attitude to have when it comes to real estate, especially when it comes to like getting stuff done. And you realize how many agents or salespeople, if you will, kind of just have these conversations, open up a conversation with nowhere to go from there, no conclusion, no decision, no direction. It's kind of just a lot of flapping jaws, and that doesn't really help your clients. It doesn't serve them to lead the conversation in a direction that actually gets somewhere constructively. And so these trainers have been really promoting always be closing, ABC, always be looking for making the sale, having things happen. But what that has led to happen with all of that is that you have buyers that are more skeptical than ever, more hesitant than ever, because they don't want to be pushed, they don't want to be forced, they don't want to be prodded by this really pushy salesperson or pushy agent that comes through. And so I kind of learned this concept and this strategy from Jeremy Meyer, who's probably one of the best modern day sales trainers that are out there, of using human nature to work for you instead of against you. And this concept of ABD, of always be disarming or always be de-escalating, helps people to not get so caught up in their emotions and get so, frantic about like the fact that they need to make a decision. Because at the end of the day, that's really all they're trying to do here. And all you're trying to help them do is make a decision. And it is hard for people to make decisions. They get scared, they have emotions, they have mental complexity, and it's your job to help them wrestle with all of that as a sales agent to make a decision, yes or no, hell yes or hell no. And there's 2 points that I really want to go over this, and I'll kind of flesh it out in more detail around applying this concept of ABD and always be disarming or de-escalating. But there's 2 points that I've realized I've used this a lot in my career and where I've been successful at it, and some of the different ways to, deal with it, strategize around it. And the first one is usually when you're first introducing yourself or opening up the conversation. They say that first 7 seconds of meeting someone, they decide if they're going to do business with you or not. They are assessing, are you safe or are you a threat? And so the way that you present yourself, the way you open up, the way you come across is going to be a signal for those people to trust you and to work with you and to talk to you, or to shut you down, block you, ignore you. And especially in today's age, people are more comfortable than ever to just do that, to ignore you, block you, deny you, and just not even give you access to them on everything, because there's so many different things competing for their attention, their trust, like everything they have going on. They're more bombarded than ever by everything else. So if you come and approach them the same way everyone else does, they're going to label you just like every other pushy salesperson, deny you, block you, shut you out. Whereas if you approach them from a warm, welcome, present stance that is not as pushy and salesy as all these other stances on everything, they're going to be more likely to open up to you and to have a good exchange going from the start. So to give you an example, like when we call people from our website, it'd be like, hi, has Ben there? And they'd be like, yeah, this is Ben. Who's this? Like, hey, this is Ben, the guy that's been emailing you homes for sale. And I'm curious if you're looking for fun or looking to make a move. And so we announced who we are, what we're calling about, and then went right into the conversation on everything. And we gave them some familiarity with it all. But I deliver it that succinctly, that neutral, because a neutral tone is the biggest piece about disarming, de-escalating. These old school sales trainers that tell you like, get a bunch of energy, get all excited, get all like out of your mind to go approach people. Like, you don't realize how much that's scaring people. You're scaring buyers off because they're like, why is this guy so enthusiastic, so eager? He's overdoing it. It's needy. Like, that's just too much. Like, I don't trust this guy from the start because he's being fake, like with the way he's presenting himself. Like, if you think about how you call your friends and family, it's like, hey, dude, what's up? That's usually how you should approach these situations, from a casual, calm, comfortable, safe place. Is the same way you approach, potential clients, prospects, agents. Same thing with like an open house situation. Somebody comes in your open house and they just get bombarded by the agent with just this pushy, heavy sales tactic, instead of having just a light, comfortable conversation around real estate, the house, their buying situation, what they're looking for. And it totally has to do with the way you as a sales agent open people up and disarm them and de-escalate them. So the biggest one is the introduction. And there's tons of different scenarios we can go through on this and tons of different ways we can do this. But a lot of it has to do with your energy that you bring to the table, of having like a disarming, neutral, warm, welcome, comfortable environment for them to open up to you. And you have to be quiet. I know this is tough for a lot of salespeople and a little bit misleading from this video, since I'm explaining a lot of things. But if we were to have a conversation, you were to see me operate, you would see that I ask a lot of quick questions and then shut up and let them talk. And I can literally use questions to guide an entire conversation of everything. So that all I'm sitting there doing is asking questions through the whole thing as they're guiding me through the conversation of what they're wanting to do or see or believe, or what has to do with that kind of thing. So, questions are one of the best ways to do it. And then when you ask that question, be okay with dead space. You have to be secure enough within yourself to be okay with dead space, be okay with it being quiet in the room, and okay with giving them some time to process and think and feel. Because if you think about it, like these questions, these situations that people are dealing with, it's a big deal in their life. It's one of the biggest transactions they'll ever do. It's one of the biggest life-changing events they'll ever have. They're going to need some space and some time to think, to operate, to feel, to process what they're doing. And that's really your job as a sales agent, is really to be an agent of change and almost like a life coach, to help them process their feelings, their thoughts around buying a house, the situations, working through all the mechanics, all these things that go beyond just having a good relationship. You need to have the people skills, the social skills to talk these people through a real estate conversation. And it starts with ABD, always be disarming and de-escalating these situations, because how you handle the conversation as an agent is what you get paid for in hundreds and thousands of dollars for how these conversations go. So the more skilled you are in these conversations, a lot of it is through questioning, through dialogue, but it's also your energy in this concept of ABD. But that's a lot of what we go over in the active agent coaching, course that I have, and then the group coaching program that I'm building out right now. So it's not done yet, but it will be done. When it is, I'll release it all to you guys. But this is a lot of what we're going over, is how to really effectively engage with people these days, both online and offline, with the way human behavior is these days, and also the way to interact with people digitally to have them open up of that regard too. But the first one, the biggest one we focus on, is the introduction, the opener, and make sure it's a neutral, warm, open environment with a solid energy that's not awkward, that's not weird, that's not uncomfortable. Like, you got to be this person that shows up powerfully present for them to feel natural, playful, and open, and all these things that life coaches do for you, just applying it to the real estate space on everything. So that's the first point, is in the intro, the opener, like the first time you make a first impression, whether over video, over text, email, phone call, any of those things, has to be this disarming, de-escalating type of situation. So this is another area, though, that I see people struggle on, is any point in the process you have to make a decision, you can close people down again. They can you can shut them down based on the way that you present it and you talk about this. This is also where ABD applies. It's not just in the opener, trying to gain their trust, get to know them, like see how they're doing. It's also anytime there's a decision to be made and they start to feel threat, force, pressure, stress, anything like that that goes with this. And if you go by the ABC attitude, which is always be closing, your thought process might be hard close, push, prod, be strong, be forceful. When in reality, what happens in that situation is you shut people down and they don't decide, they block you, they ignore you, they ghost you, and if they ghost you, The problem is you're not providing enough value, enough space. Like, you're not making them feel comfortable to open up to you. And there's two places that they will tend to ghost you on this. One, in the opener, because you had a really crappy opening and you really didn't start the conversation or the relationship well. And two, when it's time to make a major decision within these real estate processes. Typically where we're seeing major decisions is like putting in an offer, signing buyer's agency with you, signing a listing agreement with you, making a price reduction, all of these different places they need to make decisions. And it's really hard for human beings to make decisions, especially these big decisions that have to do with big life changes around committing to an agent, writing an offer on a property, getting pre-qualified, writing a listing agreement, agreeing to a listing agreement, accepting an offer on your house. All of these big life decisions is where people still need people on this. And as an agent, you really got to break down, how do I help people make these decisions on everything? How do I provide value in this situation? And a lot of that has to do with always be disarming and de-escalating, so that people aren't letting their emotions get the best of them. They're not blowing these things out of proportion. They really have perspective and scale on what they're dealing with. To give you an instance, like we had one last week where my listing wasn't selling and we were listed at 275, and the seller was like, why isn't our house selling? Why is nobody looking at our house? She's letting her emotion get the best of her. She's really getting distraught because she didn't understand the market, the situation. And so I had to kind of calmly break it down to her to be like, hey, we've had 2 showings. We had 10 groups through the open house. We've had hundreds of thousands of eyeballs viewing it online. So it's getting marketing, it's getting exposure, it's getting consideration. The 2 things that we can improve in order to get this thing to sell is condition and price. I don't think it makes sense to go and paint all your trim white and put all this more money into your house when it's ultimately probably just going to sell for less anyway. So we should just improve the price on everything. And after talking with her a little bit on it, it's because of the way she initially emotionally reacted, but then I stayed calm and I de-escalated the situation. Didn't make it a big deal, didn't buy into her emotions, didn't get all upset because she was upset and tried to come at me emotionally. I de-escalated the situation. So ABD is like a common concept that has to do with the stress of real estate. Always be de-escalating, disarming, so that your people aren't so vindictive, stressed, irritable, emotional. All these things comes with it, and it has to do with how you as an agent handle it. But you can kind of get the concept of probably beat this thing dead on it all. As far as the concept of ABD, what I'd love to do is show me in your comments, like, where have you used this concept ABD? Also, let's have a discussion about how you can apply ABD. Always be disarming, always be de-escalating, and some of the ways you've seen this working within your business in a lot of different ways. We could go for hours, honestly, on this one concept and discussion on always be disarming. But I just wanted to battle some of the old school sales myths, old school ways that are being taught that really don't work these days. And what happens that you need to do in today's modern age is you really got to open people up. You have to disarm them, de-escalate them, and do it from a neutral, warm, soft, slow, and low tone, more than it is like this hardcore closer, force, push, prod situation, especially in the hard market we're in right now, higher interest rates and everything else going into it all. You really got to make people feel comfortable, certain, calm, significant in order to move forward, because we talk about logic a lot, but really emotion makes people act. And we could talk about the science and the mental logistics of real estate all day, but in all reality, it's the people side of real estate that makes things happen, makes things move. And they'll talk about the mental logistics and all this reasoning of why they did this and that, but we all know that it's this emotional people side that gets people to act and move and do things or not. And it's our job to help them process all this stuff, because we can process thinking fairly easily, but it's getting into the emotions and the feelings and those things that really makes things happen, makes things move, and where we can serve our clients the most on everything. So hopefully this concept of ABD, always be disarming, de-escalating, has really helped you to understand a little bit more what works in today's modern world of dealing with people, period. Also online leads and everything that goes with it, and how much people have changed. Now you need to change to adapt with them. But go ahead and follow the links below, sign up for some of my products, coaching courses, and all those different cool, fun things I'm developing. Check out some of the other videos on agent training, also some of the videos I do for buyers, sellers, Wichita, that kind of thing. And feel free to shoot me a message, reach out. Hopefully this has helped you in some way, shape, or form in your business. And we'll talk with you soon. See ya.